All
I mean,
right,
some
hello, Metal Maniacs. It's the Meista from Brews and Tunes. Cheers. I am absolutely thrilled today. I am chatting with the one and only Miss Courtney Cox, of course, of Burning Witches and previously of Iron Maidens. Courtney, how are you doing?
I am fantastic. All is good from Germany.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Ah,
It's good. It's good. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm, like I said, I'm thrilled to be chatting with you. And first off, just congratulations on joining Burning Witches. I think that is a perfect fit. With your playing style and that amazing band. I think it just feels like you fit right in there. Just yeah, very, very cool. So, and that's now official. You are officially a member because I know at the beginning it was kind of you were fill in for Larissa, right?
yeah, she's obviously maternity leave and but official now. She's still in the background helping with the band because it's family still and everything. So all is good.
Nice, very cool, very cool. Now I know, I was curious kind of how that all happened, but because I know that you did some guest work for Burning Witches. I mean, all the way back to Hexhammer back in Hexenhammer back in was that 2018 ish, 2017 somewhere around there.
Now we're all getting old now. Yeah, I had a guest solo on the track Maiden of Steel.
Nice, nice.
Great opportunity.
Yeah. So how did that happen? How did you get involved with them originally? And then how did this happen? How did you get in, now that you're, a full-time member?
We've been friends for years, and funny enough, like, Romana always tells a story. Before I actually met her, obviously I used to live in LA, and I would always be at the Rainbow Bar and Grill. And Romana always tells the story. The first time I was at the Rainbow, I walked in and I saw you, and I didn't want to go up and talk to you. And fast forward now, it's like I just laugh at her. Where I'm like, everyone's human, right?
Right.
Um, the first initial, meeting, becoming best friends, it was they opened up for the Iron Maidens, I think in 2016, 2017. I could be wrong, in Dornbirn, Austria.
Okay.
And from that day on, just been sisters. I know it's really cheesy to say, but we just always stayed in touch. And then they asked me to do the Hexenhammer thing. I said, of course. And then COVID happened, everything shut down. They asked me to do a acoustic video with them, and
Oh, right.
they just and then fast forward, here I am.
Nice.
It
Nice.
was meant to be.
Very cool. Yeah, that's great. And I know it's been a really busy summer for you thus far. Burning Witches has been doing, the band's been doing quite a few shows, some big festivals, as well as some touring. How has that been? How are those how because you've played festivals before, right? In Iron Maidens.
Yeah, no, it's great. Last May 5th, their fifth album came out, The Dark Tower. So it's just been basically touring the album. And obviously we're getting towards the end of festival season out here in Europe. It's just been go, go, go. And the response has been great. I couldn't be happier.
Nice, nice. Yeah, the footage I've seen, the live footage I've seen from some of the shows is incredible. I mean, and like I said before, I think you fit in just perfectly. I mean, it. I mean, those live shows and just seeing all of you on stage, you just seem to gel really well. It seems to be very organic, and it looks like you're having a blast too, which is great. I'm trying to remember which somebody had posted and it was a professionally done video on YouTube, and I don't remember which festival it was, but it was within the last few weeks, I think. But yeah, just the sound was incredible. I mean, you're known for your amazing guitar work anyway, but it just really, I have to say it was reminiscent of the Tipton, the Judas Priest kind of vibe I was getting, between it really felt that way for me, that dual guitar work. It like as soon as I heard you both playing together, I just thought of Glenn Tipton and KK Downing. I'm like, oh, that has a really nice Judas Priest vibe to it, like that early Judas Priest vibe.
And it's funny you say that because when this all came about with me, you know, filling in, the maidens are supporting except one before. And then Romana and some of the girls came to our Zurich show. And that, you know, they asked, like, we know you're busy. Would you ever think about, you know, filling in for a bit? I said, of course. And that was the one thing with me and Romana. I mean, when I started playing guitar, wanted to be in a band, I always had this vision of KK, Glenn Tipton, or Hetfield, Hammett, Smith, Murray, you know.
Mm.
And then when I met Romana, and I mean, talk about a songwriter, she's great rhythm player, everything. It just, I'm like, finally, duo. And we just mesh so well. We have great hair.
Yes, indeed.
And you know, there's no trauma, there's nothing, you know, we have a disagreement, we talk it out, everything's great. You know, now being in the band, already writing riffs, sending ideas to each other, and just like, this is, for a musician, everything I've ever wanted since I picked up the guitar.
Nice.
You know, I grew up, you know, Metallica was my first big thing. I just always wanted that duo, like Priest and the, you know, Metallica. It's just like, it's very rare, I would say, to find someone that you just mesh with right out the gate. Don't have to question it. And I even remember the first rehearsal in the room in Switzerland. You know, they had friends there and stuff. And then just, you know, Romano walks in and we start playing, and they were like, wow, it's like, there's just something there between the two of you, if that makes sense. I'm like, yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
you know, I have that feeling too. And it's just, I can't wait to keep writing with her, because she's just such an amazing musician and human being. So I finally, it's like, the duo is here.
That's great. That's great to hear. Yeah, because like I said, I mean, I think you guys have such great chemistry on stage. So I'm really excited for what's to come with Burning Witches, with you now at the helm of lead guitar. Has I mean, I know you've all been insanely busy touring and doing big shows. Has any writing started yet? You know, for the, I mean,
I mean, I've been writing riffs, sending them over. She'll like, oh, I like that part, I like this part. It's like, oh yeah, we'll find this part, find that part. It's, you know, it teamwork.
Hmm.
And then we have to send everything to Lala, and she's gonna hate us. The drum. But you know, actually, being out here in Europe right now, it's actually a lot easier, because back in the States, like with time difference, sending stuff across the pond, waiting, it's a lot easier now. I mean, we still are separated, obviously Germany, Switzerland, but
yeah,
good old technology now. But yeah, definitely a lot of, you know, it's like, I'm just so happy, and it just feels good for me. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, you're making a bad idea, don't leave the maidens and blah blah blah. It's, for me, this is all what I want to do. I want to be in a band, co-write, be a group, do this and that. And for me, like, especially since COVID, I did have that kind of dry thing where I didn't want to play guitar. You know, there's no inspiration.
mm-hmm.
And then now it's just like, just around the house. Oh, there's a riff, record it. There's a riff, record it, send it over. But it's just like, what's the word I'm trying to find? It's like a rebirth, kind of, with excitement for my instrument and what I do.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
What's coming.
That's great to hear, because yeah, I heard a lot of people talk about, a lot of musicians have said that, you know, during COVID, it was definitely a struggle, you know, and a lot of people put their instruments down, and you know, and
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Thinks, you know, especially being a professional musician, how many hours do you practice every day? It must be all the time. Like, no, actually.
Yeah.
There's some weeks I don't even look at a guitar, or don't even listen to music. You know, I'm not one of those people. I can't force myself to sit down and write. It's organic. Like, I'll be in a store, hear a riff, drop all my groceries, run home, you know.
Nice.
I prefer that. If I force myself, I'm like, okay, I have to write a song in the next 30 minutes, it's not going to be your best work. I mean, for some people it might be, being under the gun, stuff like that. I mean, I'd rather have that pressure in the studio.
Mm.
And I kind of had that, you know, when I 3 songs from Dark Tower, you know, they asked, oh, do you want to you know, redo some solos, you know, just so you can have some things. And I remember being on the accept bus, like learning songs, like, okay, writing solos, make sure everything's perfect, into the studio. Everything I prepped for it, it's not what you hear on those recordings.
Oh, really?
I was in the studio. Nah, try something else. Boom. And there it was. There it was, you know. Basically, you almost psych yourself out.
Yeah, yeah. That's
It's just that kind of thing. You know what? I'm glad what I stressed myself out to prepare didn't end up on those tracks because it was organic in the studio.
right. Yeah. That's, I mean, I guess that's a good, I mean, I mean, obviously you want to be prepared,
It's
but
catch
at the same
22.
time, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's good that it you know, just kind of flows out, you know, it's, you know, in the moment. I think that's cool. But yeah, I can understand where, you know, sometimes I guess that could be frustrating if you've got something in your head, like, I want to do this, and then you get in there like, uh, what was I going to do again?
Well,
So,
even like the first passes on some of the, you know, I think two of the solos, I'm like, I don't know if I like that. But then when you hear it, you know, mastered and stuff, I'm like, yeah, that was good. You know, and I'm like my own worst critic, as most musicians are. So for me, like a song's never finished, a solo's never really complete, you know.
right, right.
That's how we drive ourselves nuts writing.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always found that fascinating, and I guess and I understand it, I guess, as a visual, I'm a paint, I do a little painting just as a hobby, but I understand that. Yeah, yeah, you know, I look at a painting I did months ago or even years ago, and it's like, ugh, yeah, that needs this. I should have done that. I should have done this. Yeah, so I can completely understand that. And it's funny when you hear, you know, especially aging rock and metal musicians, you know, the kind of the you know, the for lack of a better term, I guess you'd say, you know, kind of the royalty of rock and roll, like hearing them talk about, you know, these classic songs that they wrote in their 20s and now they're in their 60s and 70s and going, you know, and kind of cringing at it, like, oh my God, I can't believe I wrote that, but it's a hit, so I have to sing it, you know. Um,
And spawn so many other musicians from
yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing an interview with Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull, and I can't remember which song he was talking about. And it's a song I love and adore. And he's like, God, I hate that song. I'm like, what? He's like, oh, I wrote it when I was 21. It sucks. It's like, oh my God. Like, that's one of the greatest songs ever. Anyway, yeah, I thought that was funny. It's interesting, you to kind of circle back. It's interesting that there were people that you mentioned, there were people kind of trying to talk you out of joining Burning Witches. It sort of sounded like, or like, maybe not talk you out, but like saying like, are you
Well, I mean,
crazy?
in today's world of, you know, internet trolls and stuff, I forget what musician. I remember as a kid reading, like, you know, everyone wants to keep you in their little pocket, kind of. You
Right.
know, well, some people just don't like change. They don't understand change. And I'm not saying, you know, it was amicable. It was, you know, it's just like it's the next chapter. No
Yeah.
drama, nothing. It's gonna be like, oh, you're making a terrible mistake. Who's this band? I don't like them. I prefer the Iron Maidens music. I'm like, you realize we're paying tribute to Iron Maiden, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No stuff like that. But you can't win on the internet. That's why you just don't read comments and stuff like that. But it seems
Yeah.
people don't like change, and change is hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I
It
just find
wasn't
that surprising, especially with, you know, and I love the Iron Maidens, but you know, as you said, yeah, I mean, you know, it's a tribute band, and Burning Witches is original material. They're on an uphill trajectory right now, which, I mean, they're blowing up. I mean, they've been around for a while, obviously. I've been listening to them for years, but it seems like right now they are big. So it seems like a
Yeah,
great time to join.
you know how you started like, oh, there's just a tribute band. I always say I've been in that band for 14, almost 15 years. It's not
Yeah.
just a tribute band. That
Yeah,
band
sure.
proved broken down barriers for a lot of tributes.
Yeah.
Currently on the trajectory and everything. And I mean, that's the way I can't. No, because they always say, oh, you can't touch them. The internet trolls like, no, they're terrible. Blah blah blah. But you know, I mean, they worked hard. I mean, they started in 2001,
Yeah.
been together longer than most original bands.
Right. Yeah.
The fan base can't touch them really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Incredibly tight.
have all those years with them, and it was yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, yeah. Was that, I would imagine that was difficult stepping away from that. I mean, yeah, because you had been in the band since what, 2008?
Yeah, in 2008, 2009. Yeah. I mean, like I said, change is hard, but I know me, that little kid, I just always wanted to be, in that band, co-writing. And like I said, there's nothing wrong being in a tribute band, playing other people's songs. And most people are like, hey, why don't you do something else? Like, you know what? I had a good 9 to 5. My 9 to 5 was 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. I'm not telling someone else how to do their job.
Yeah.
It actually allowed me to focus on my profession, because you would tour, have some time off, tour again. It allowed me to grow as a musician, regardless of playing Adrian Smith. And I mean, it matured me business wise, playing. I got to learn a lot touring the world, and that helps me now in the next chapter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because yes, original bands is a whole other scenario. But now, I have really thick skin now from my years touring with the Maidens. So just ready for that next chapter and see what happens.
Good, good. Yeah. I'm very excited to see where you go with this, because yeah, I just see it getting better and better and better. Yeah, so I'm definitely excited for it. I wanted to ask you to kind of switch gears, change things a little bit. I was curious about, I know you have a guitar endorsement, the Horus M3 model, and I think there's two different colors. There's like the that bright killer green that you usually play on stage, and then
Sapphire, yes.
yeah, very cool. So and that was fairly recent, right? The endorsement.
No, I
Oh no.
started comparison. It was 2015, 16, and I
Oh, okay.
think my model came out. God, I'm getting old, I'm forgetting years. It's been a while. I would say 4 years that's been out.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool.
New one in the works right now. So
Oh, really? Nice. Nice. Are you at liberty to speak about that at all? Can you tell us anything about what
no,
No? Okay, cool.
next spring.
Well, I'm excited to see it. That'll be really cool. I was curious if you don't mind kind of going in the way back machine. And I was curious about your you getting into music. Did you come from a musical family? Like what was the impetus for you? Where did you start? When did you start playing guitar, or what other instrument you might have started with? Kind of what inspired all of that?
Earliest memory, my grandmother on my father's side, funny enough, from Germany.
Hmm.
Always had a really old piano. Like, just looking back, my earliest photos, just sitting there, just banging on the keys like an obnoxious child, not making sense. But I mean, that was, I guess, my gateway into music. Um, my father played drums. He was a really massive Buddy Rich guy.
Oh, cool.
And then I guess it was just grade school. I kind of, after those toddler years, got away from music other than just obviously radio and stuff like that. And then it was the typical grade school, okay, band, pick an instrument, you know, I had keyboards. And then my friend let me use like try her clarinet, different reeds, don't worry. And I was just so fascinated by it. And she gave me the book. She was in the class for like a week already. I didn't pick an instrument other than keyboard. And I remember I took her clarinet home. And then I showed up the next day. They had a spare clarinet there, and I was already through the book.
Oh, wow.
I guess I don't know, ADHD or whatever. I was just like, just so focused on it. And then I just didn't really stop. But then I guess it wasn't cool anymore. So I got really into sports, and I was sports family too, all jocks on the mother's side. And then it wasn't until I think I was about 13 and just randomly I wanted a guitar. And there was a split second I wanted to play drums because my oldest brother Rick played drums. But my mom said no, no two drum sets in the house because he would never let me. And I was like, I just wanted. It was like that Christmas. I'm like, I just want a guitar, and she just, my father and my mother just looked at me crazy, that kind of thing. I remember she was obsessed with the Beatles. She, played guitar when she was a kid, and she had this I don't think it was a Gretsch, but she had something that looked like a John Lennon red guitar. And I remember I
Okay.
traded for this really crappy, like, oh, I'm not going to say the company name now since I said crappy, but I obviously had no idea what I was doing. So I traded in something that was worth money for, yeah. And
Oh
I
no.
still,
Oh, you do?
but yeah, I do. You never get rid of your first guitar, really. But yeah, I just remember it was so hard to play, but I guess hindsight, it made me a better player with the string action like that. You you make it work. I remember I had some like Radio Shack amp.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then there was the weird dynamic of okay, sports or music. Then I was in a nasty car accident, so obviously the focus went to music. And then I never really looked back.
Nice. Nice. I mean, not nice that you got in a car accident, but I mean, nice that you
Oh,
never.
I know it's a terrible thing to say. Like I was in a car accident, but it pushed me in that direction.
Yeah.
But I mean, I played lacrosse. I mean, after college, there's not much you can do with lacrosse. I mean, it's not even in the Olympics, so
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I
I
think you
don't
went on the
understand
right
why.
path. Yeah, I think you took the right path. And you were in you went to the Paul Green School of Rock Music, right?
Yeah, because when I mean, I was such an introvert, and I would just sit in my parents' garage for hours on end, pretty much to the point where the cops would come because of the sound ordinance. I think
Oh, wow.
Delaware County at that time was 8 p.m. and I'd be there till like 3 in the morning. And my mom like, you got to go to school tomorrow. And it's just like, oh, you got to meet because even in school and stuff, it was just, didn't really know how to talk to kids. I mean, I had friends and stuff. We had the jock friends and stuff, but I just didn't really have that gift of gab and stuff. I could, walking around with my Metallica shirt, my Metallica necklace, my Metallica hat, I was like the complete metal nerd. And like, if you don't like Metallica, you're not my friend kind of thing.
Right.
And she, found this, like, I think it was in the Daily Times, which is our like local newspaper, and it was promoting it because I think the movie just came out, and then Jack Black based his movie off of this school. And I walked in, and funny enough, like they were just prepping because the school, like you would have lessons, but each month they would put on some show. And when I went in for like an interview and stuff, the show they were prepping for was Iron Maiden versus Judas Priest, funny enough.
Oh, wow.
And I was so excited. And they gave me my songs. And it was Flight of Icarus. What else was it? What Priest on? Free Will Burning. I can't remember the other one I did. But they're like, don't worry, the first rehearsal's like tonight. And this was probably about 2 p.m. I'm in Center City, Philadelphia, or wherever it was. And I run home, put the albums on, learn the songs real quick, show up to the first rehearsal that night, only like a handful of hours later. And I'm like, why are you here? Like, I know my songs.
Wow.
And they're like, what? And keep in mind, this is like first rehearsal. So it's like, okay, going down the list, who knows their songs? Because, kids at that age, like, it's like writing a book report. You wait to the last second, really.
Yeah.
Like going up the jam songs. I think one of three that knew all their songs already.
Nice.
I'm like, okay, this is meant to be. But yeah, it was a good experience at school. It taught me a lot in business wise, how to have thick skin, you know. I remember I was the worst student. So even though my guitar teacher was like, oh, she was there all the time. No, I wasn't.
No.
I hated lessons. That's why I pretty much taught myself. I just did not like someone do this, do that, do this, do that.
Right. Right.
And then the school was great. It was so, I mean, great for kids, young kids. I think I forget the youngest you could be, but through 18. And then they had this program called the Paul Green School Rock All Stars. And I was part of that. And basically it put you on the road. I think my first time on the road, Adrian Blue, King Crimson.
Wow.
And
That's
then
amazing.
after that, John Anderson, yes.
Wow.
And I still always love that tour because, me at that time, I don't want to play prog rock. I'm wearing my Slayer shirt every day. I'm into thrash. I remember John would always come with like, I forget what band it was, but you know, songs he was interested in. He would just hand me a slip of paper all the time, be like, Courtney, you should like make this into a metal song or like recover this song. So it was just such a great experience for, you know, that age bracket. You got to
Yeah.
see the business, which a lot of kids at the age that we were do not see, and how it works on the road, you know, lobby calls, stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, and
we
especially,
didn't we didn't have this social media, Instagram guitar player stuff, YouTube. You know, we were on the road.
yeah, that's
Yes,
amazing.
I mean, it didn't matter if you had stage fright, you had to go on stage and you learn it's sink or swim. And that's it was back when I was at 8, I thought it was really harsh, but now looking back, it's what we needed.
Yeah.
It was, you want to cry, go cry. You know, go, you know, go on stage. There's an audience. They want to be entertained. And it was the best lesson I've ever learned.
Yeah, I would imagine that would have been, I mean, especially with, I mean, those two names among others, I'm sure, John Anderson and Adrian Belew. I mean, just to
Like I
have
said,
that.
material was not easy for kids in their 15, 16, 17.
Yeah, that's wild.
If we just learned an E chord, what are we doing?
Yeah.
But we made it happen. And like I said, it was to this day, some of the best musicians I've ever worked with.
I
And we
bet.
were
Wow.
kids.
And just to that experience, so then, playing, big European shows is, probably second nature now. I'm sure I mean, I'm not a musician. I don't know what that's like exactly, but I would imagine like stepping onto onto a stage and like say Wacken or, you know, Keep It True or any of those, it's got to be just overwhelming emotionally, or it can be if you're not focused. Um,
I even see you talking about the sink or swim thing. I remember there was John Ann's. The only time I ever think I've been scared in my life going on stage. I think we were in Vermont. John Anderson was stuck in the snow somewhere coming in. Show was already 20 minutes late. And Paul Green goes to me, just go out there and do a 80 solo. I think you actually see it on YouTube. I'm terrified. But to start the show, here I come out. I think I was using an Ibanez gem. And he's like, just go entertain, go. I'm like, I've never done an 80s solo before, even though, you know, studied like Paul Gilbert doing like, I think it was I forget what tour, Tokyo, Mr. Big goes out to this big thing.
oh yeah.
That in my head, I'm thinking, just go out. And there's just silence because obviously the crowd's getting annoyed, like, okay, it's late. And I'm just going, like, I don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, you can see in the video, John Anderson comes out with his tambourine, and then we start Owner of a Lonely Heart. I'm like,
Wow.
I think you can find on YouTube. I mean, it's terrible. Little kid not knowing how to solo, just terrified. But now a piece of cake, but I just remember just shaking, and I never shake ever. It's like, what do you mean go out and start a show with like an 80s style? Because Paul, the 80s metal kid, you know, like go out and just do something. I'm like, okay. Dime bag squeals, and like the crowd doesn't know what I'm doing.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
now, yeah, walking on stage at Wacken, no problem.
Yeah. Well, after that, yeah, I can imagine. I would imagine it's also got to be a rush too, that to walk out into that, that kind of that size of a crowd. Or is it?
No, it's kind of just any show, really. I always say, and I know it's like, oh, you sound so mushy, blah blah. It could be 5 people, 500,000 people. It's still the same kind of rush for a musician. As
Yeah.
long as the crowd's into it, you know, you feed off the energy, basically.
Right. Right.
So it could be one person. As long as that person's having fun, I did my job, you know. So.
Yeah. That's cool. Um, you mentioned, obviously we mentioned several bands, several musicians. Are there particular guitar players that you found really inspiring when you were growing up, and maybe still do, or kind of who do you listen to? I'm always fascinated to find out what musicians listen to.
Um, out the gate, Kirk Hammett was the reason I started. I
Hmm.
mean, I was so obsessed. I mean, it would mimic his moves, you know, had the Dunlop .88 picks. I had to have the Ernie Ball strings. I had to go get the guitar and put the caution hot pick.
Oh wow. So
So I will say I met a lot of musicians, people I looked up to. Um, I think I forget when it was, but a friend of mine, Doc Coyle, plays for Bad Wolves, and right now he's filling in for Ice Nine Kills on the Metallica tour.
oh, okay.
But he also plays in the band with Kirk, the Wedding Band.
Cool.
A cool little thing. And then he invited me to the show, brought me backstage, and he just laughed at me because Kirk just walked by the room and he's like, I've never seen you turn red so fast and you're tired. You are shaking right now. I'm like, just shut up. Just shut up. Just shut up. Get your composure. Get your composure. And I was like, that was the only person I've ever been starstruck by, ever. But I guess, you know, a little kid, that's the start of it all for me.
Yeah.
But like Dimebag and Andy the Rock, I just kind of list. I mean, I have my players that like I brought John Sykes, people I like zone in on. But other than that, just try to be well rounded. But I mean, for me, the golden years, metal and stuff, 80s kid at heart, even though I was born in 89, but I missed everything. So this is my 80s. But for me, it's just that old heavy metal thrash is,
Yeah.
and then
Nice. Yeah,
I always hate that question. What do you listen to? What are you listening to now? It's like talk radio.
I would imagine it's it's interesting because I've heard this. I've heard different answers from different musicians, especially when recording an album or writing an album or writing music. Some like don't listen to anything. Like I can't listen to music. Yeah, same thing. Yeah, I listen to talk radio. I can't listen. But then there's others like no, I listen to like I want to be influenced by different things. So it's interesting because I would imagine it's it can be dangerous because you don't want to I mean there's so much music out there now and it's probably so easy to even like subconsciously be impacted by something. And
you only have so many notes and chord progressions and stuff, so
yeah.
eventually something's going to sound like this or something like that. Like God, I'll write a song like, oh, this is great, and I'm like, wait a minute. Like they're like, God damn it. That's why it sounds so familiar,
Yeah.
It's just something, and some people get so nasty over it too. It's just like I can listen to songs I'm like, okay, you're ripping off that composer this just by the bass lines and stuff, and no one talks about that. But
yeah,
you have a riff that's like an A with an A pedal to it. I'm like, oh, you're being Iron Maiden. If you like it, screw everyone else.
yeah. And if you're inspired by something, I don't have a problem with. I mean, there are plenty of I'm a I grew up I was born in the 70s. I grew up in the 80s. So that era that you were talking about, that was that was high school, junior high and high school for me. And the traditional American metal music and the thrash metal music and the new wave of British heavy metal, and especially with new wave of British heavy metal, there were so many bands that sounded similar, had a lot of them had that same Iron Maiden vibe, but like so they kick ass. Like, I still love it. Like,
the Iron Maiden vibe, but then you go back to the bands they were listening to. I'm like, so we got, it's like, it always comes full circle.
Exactly.
Play a musician, a song is a song.
Yeah. And I find that it seems like a lot of, especially, I've plenty of musicians say like, oh yeah, I'm totally inspired by that. I mean, you can hear it. I love that band. You're going to hear it. That song, I wanted to sound like that. I wanted to sound like this band. So I think it's just, it's worse when it's, somebody like, Vanilla Ice ripping off, the Queen and David Bowie and then denying it. No, it's different. Like,
honestly, we still know all the words.
yeah.
Especially the bacon part.
Yeah, I'm not going to admit anything, but yeah, that's funny.
Talk about even just bands today. Have you even talk about like I wouldn't even call it a cover, but they changed the words. I just recently heard Fall Out Boy doing "We Didn't Start the Fire," but with newer topics. Have you heard this yet?
I have not heard that.
Oh
No.
my God, please go listen to it. Everyone's like, oh my God, you should just say Fall Out Boy. And I heard in the car out here, Radio Bob. I'm like, who is this? This is great. Like, what a great concept to take that song and, change the lyrics. And completely brilliant. After this, go listen to it.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. That's interesting.
Did he just say Furby? It is for musicians, especially in this tight, like, okay, everything's been done before, everyone says, but even that for me was like, wow, he didn't even think of that, to redo his own song and change the lyrics to what he has experienced,
Yeah, modernize it. And yeah,
you need a little niche like that, I think, in today's world. I mean, regardless of genre.
Yeah.
Sorry, that just went.
No, I agree. Yeah, it's the music industry is such a strange beast. It is such a strange beast, and especially now.
Yeah.
Pardon?
You can't tame it. It's constantly just.
Yeah.
If you think you know it, just complete 180.
Right. Yeah, but I think that's what I'm. As a child of the 70s and 80s, and the 90s were rough for me musically. In the early 2000s, that was as a metalhead, that was a rough time.
It was bubblegum pop for me.
Yeah, those were some rough years.
I still love Backstreet Boys. Great guitar work.
Oh wow.
Actually, the funny thing, when me and Nita lived together, I was like, you guys must be listening to like Courtney and stuff. Actually, we were just listening to Backstreet Boys. Actually, great songwriting. Like, some of those songs, actually great guitar work. Like, I would audition for Backstreet Boys, just saying.
Wow. Well,
everyone's like, you just lost your metal cred.
Well, and Nita's she's playing with Demi Lovato right now, right? And I mean, she plays with Alice Cooper as well. On and off. Yeah, okay. Speaking of her, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I did want to ask you about, just because it was one of those things that sadly didn't really take off, but I was so excited to have it. The Starbreaker band. I was so excited for that band. You and Nita, and of course the late great Jill Janis, of Huntress. That would have been so amazing. I don't know if were there recordings. Did you? I never heard anything. I think I saw some stuff, but it just
basically just came out of being friends, and it was, I think, for all of us, just an escape at the time, because all of our bands at the moment were touring so much. And then, when you tour so much, you get home, you don't know what to do with yourself, basically. Right. So we're like, just play some shows. Let's just play the songs, we want to play. No one's dictating which band is that. So we just, just get in a room, like, okay, let's do this song. Like, oh, let's do a King Diamond song. Oh, we did a King Diamond song, this and that. Yeah, then obviously we know what happened. And I know I'm gonna start. Whew.
Sorry, I didn't. Yeah,
no, it's great. But at the time we were just talking, just continuing on what we were doing. What we have started writing, I don't know. I think it was just an emotional escape for all of us from our projects at the time, just to play our favorite songs and just have a good time, because that's what we were all about. And I miss those years and still crushed by it. For the time I had, I'll never forget them.
Yeah. Jill was such an amazing talent. I was fortunate enough to see Huntress live, and they opened for Danzig. And not to disparage anybody, but I would have preferred if Huntress headlined that show. Personally, I thought Jill was just the consummate, front woman. Front person, I should say.
When you look up front woman, you see her face. I mean, and I saw it personally, not even just being on stage singing, she controlled every room she walked into, just lit it up.
Yeah,
she walked into the room.
Yeah, I was mesmerized watching her perform live. It just, and the band was great too, obviously, but she was just captivating, just electric. I mean, it was just electric. And then again, not to disparage anybody, but to see that and then have to watch Danzig strut around the like a petulant child. Like it was like, it felt like a letdown to me.
Everyone has their opinions.
Yeah. Sorry, no offense. I like Danzig's music, but I was transfixed by that show, and yeah, I really wish that I had seen more from that band. What a great band, and Starbreaker. It would have been really cool to see more come of that. So.
So she's the only woman to trump my T-shirt collection.
Oh yeah.
It's like I would wear like a vintage, Merciful Fate from like this shit kind of like an original from like this tour in 1981.
Oh wow.
My funniest memories of her, the ones I hold dear, really every rehearsal. I mean, she was the ultimate mama bear. She's always worried about us. Every rehearsal, she'd come in with those B12 shots. Okay, girls, drop your pants. 12 shot in your butt. There's so many photos of me just with these pants on. Because she had her license to do that. So, she always wanted to make sure we're healthy because, living in LA and all. But I was just always laughing at thinking that. Just drop your pants.
That is great.
Right before painkiller, eat your shot.
That is awesome. I love it. That is cool. Well, Courtney, this has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today. Thank you so very much. For those of you watching, look in the description below. There are links to Courtney's page. There are links to Burning Witches pages as well. Definitely check those out. Courtney's page, webpage has some really cool stuff. Check out the shop there. You can check out the guitars she endorses, as well as, you can get stickers, you can get all sorts of cool stuff. And yeah, if you don't have the latest Burning Witches album, The Dark Tower, go get it right now. That album rules, and I cannot wait to hear what's to come from Burning Witches. Sorry, and I should have asked, what are the upcoming shows? What do you all have coming up?
Actually, I have to be at the airport. I have to leave for the airport 3 a.m. We play in Graz tomorrow, Metal on the Hill Festival, Austria. So
right on.
It's not stop for me, so I'm glad I had this time. And I'm sorry that Germany, and thank you for working with the time schedule.
No, thank you so much for doing it.
Hard to track down sometimes.
Well, again, thank you so much. This has been a blast.
My pleasure.